ओम अज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मीलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपः कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकां। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरुन् वैष्णवांश्च वन्देऽहं गुरो श्रीयुतकमलं श्रीगुरुन् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सहगना रघुनाथं वितं तां सजीवं साधयितं साधुतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपादान् सहगना ललितां श्रीविशाखावितांश्च हे कृष्णा करुणा सिन्धो दीनबन्धो जगत्पते उपेश गोपिकान्त राधाकान्ता नमोऽस्तुते तप्तकाञ्चन गौराङ्गी राधे वृन्दावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपासिन्धुभ्यश्च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौरभक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा Hare Krishna, welcome to this discussion on Srimad Bhagavad Gita. We have been discussing chapter 6, Dhyana Yoga, and right now we are in the second part. In that, specifically, we are in this group of shlokas where we speak about realization of Bhagavan. In our previous discussion, we spoke about how Krishna is starting from the basic level of yoga and then the peak level of yoga. And then once again, he gives different tracks. So one track is controlled mind to steadiness of mind. Other track is systematic meditation to firm concentration. And then practice regulation to self-realization. So this is how he is giving the thoughts on sadhaka stage to siddha stage. And the movement from 606.10 to 6.15 is Brahman realization. And so 6.11 to 6.15 is Brahman realization, and 6.15 to 6.23 is more like Paramatma realization. Now we need to start with 6.24. 6.24 to 6.32, Krishna will be speaking about realization of Brahman. So this is one more set of trajectory which he will be speaking. Let us go to the shloka. Sa nishtayena yoktavyo yogo nirvinna chetasa sankalpa prabhavan kaman stakta sarvan aseshatah manasevendriya grama viniyamya samantatah. One should engage oneself in practice of yoga with the determination and faith and not be deviated from path. One should abandon without exception all material desires born of mental speculation and thus control all the senses on all sides by mind. We see that there is a specific word, sankalpa prabhavan kamans. This is a very significant line. We need to plan properly to give up our material desires. Sankalpa means mental speculation born of material desires. We need to plan it such that um, we do not get caught up. It is this material desires which makes us speculate different things and makes us act in a specific way. Okay. On the other hand, if we plan activities by which we can avoid these material desires, we can overcome the material desires. Born of mental speculations, born of mental. We need to plan such that we avoid material desires, and when we avoid material desires, we don't speculate. There is a verse in Srimad Bhagavatam, Asakalpa Jayet Kama Krodam Kama Vivarjanat Artha Anarte Kshaya Lobam Bhayam Tattva Pamarshanath. By making plans with determination, one should give up lusty desires for sense gratification. Similarly, by giving up envy, one should conquer anger. By discussing the disadvantages of accumulating wealth, one should give up greed. And by discussing the truth, one should give up fear. Therefore, we need to plan surrendering our desires. Srila Prabhupada and Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakura give the example of Ekadashi Day. On Ekadashi Day, we do not eat grains. By making plans not to eat grains, we give up the desire to eat grains on that particular day. This is how we plan to give up material desires. Sankalpa Prabhavan Kamams. There are two things here. One is desire and other one is plan. For us, Sanischayena Yoktavya Yoga Nirvinna Chetasa. Sanischayena Anirvinna. We need Sanischayena means what? With firm determination. Anirvinna Chetasa, without deviation. We need to tattva sarvan aseshata. Nischayena determined, and anirvinna means without deviation. We should give up all sarvan aseshataha completely. We should give up all material desires completely. A dam is constructed on a flowing river. It is built to last long and withstand the force of water. Now, if there is a small crack in the dam, it may lead to mighty crash, no mighty damage of the dam. Thus, tiny cracks are now ought to be sealed. Sarvan aseshata, completely giving up completely is there is a double emphasis here. Sarvan and completely, or completely give up all desires completely. Srila Prabhupada is translating Manasevendriya Gramam, Mana by mind, certainly Indriya, the full set of senses, as control of all the, he is telling Manasa completely by mind, certainly Indriya, the full set of senses. So Srila Prabhupada is translating one should abandon without exception all material desires born of mental speculation and thus control all the senses on all sides by the mind. Now we may question, is mind controlling the senses or senses controlling the mind? Is it mind which drags the senses towards sense object or vice versa? The answer is it can happen both the ways. Mind can take senses in wrong direction or senses can take mind in wrong direction. The start point is based on where from the trigger for sense gratification starts. We get the trigger for sense gratification from external objects. The external objects are perceived through senses, and thus sense objects triggers senses, and senses triggers the desires. This in turn results in dreaming, imagination, fascination, and hence we act on it. When the trigger comes from outside to inside, the senses are agitating the mind. Sometimes the trigger for agitation can come from inside. There could be some remembrance of our past life. We could remember that this is what went wrong. We also imagine the moment of enjoyment. Thus, mind dwells on that specific moment from the past and hence drag the senses. The provocation is internal, which in turn triggers the senses and then get dragged towards the sense object. In current context of yogi practicing the Astanga Yoga, who is drawn away from the worldly affairs. The yogi is not linked to any material environment. He is in the forest environment. There are no external triggers for sense enjoyment. The triggers for sense enjoyment for such a yogi is only internal. The trigger is from mind only. Trigger is in imagination of mind only. This in triggers, this in turn triggers the desires and hence indulges the senses in sense enjoyment. Here the yogi is controlling the senses through mind. He does not get dragged by mind towards the sense enjoyment. Rather, he uses mind to control the sense. That is why it is written here as Manasevendriya Grama Viniyamya Samantataha. With mind we control. That is why Krishna is telling this Manasevendriya Grama Viniyamya Samantataha. Thus control all the senses on all sides by mind. Then there is one interesting shloka in 2.62. ध्यायतो विषयान् पुंसा संगास्तेषु पचायते संगात् संजायते कामः कामा क्रोधो विजायते. While contemplating the objects of senses, a person develops attachment for them, and from such attachments, lust develops, and from lust, anger arises. This means the fall happens internally first. Contemplation. Now, one must control the senses and engage in self realization. One must give up material desires and fix up mind on Supreme Lord. There is no, uh, in the current shloka 6.24, there is no clear direction on what one should fix the mind on. Krishna will elaborate this as a bhakti yoga in the later chapters of Bhagavad Gita, where he recommends us to fix the mind on him. In this instance, the yogi is trying to go inwards and is made to fix the mind in Atma or Paramatma Tattva based on how yogi's understanding is evolving. Srila Prabhupada is giving the example of a sparrow and the ocean who has taken eggs of the sparrow. That is a very good example which Srila Prabhupada gives here in the purport. The sparrow was determined to get back the eggs which were taken by ocean, but ocean didn't really bother. Sparrow was determined to give up the ocean and get the eggs back. This was an impossible determination. This attracted the unstoppable Garuda, and Garuda then took up the mission of drying the ocean himself. At that time, ocean gave back the eggs. This signifies that our conditionings are like ocean within the material ocean. Deep within is a conditioning that is love of God. These are like the eggs which were taken away by the ocean. These are representing the love of God, love of Godhead, which is misdirected right now. To get this love of Godhead is the next to impossible. But by practicing devotional service with determination, by chanting Hare Krishna Mahamantra one by one, we will be able to show our determination, which is like removing one drop of water from the ocean. This way, we are trying to serve Krishna. This way, we can attract the mercy of Krishna. Then Krishna does miracles through spiritual master. The Garuda here represents the spiritual master. One then becomes free. One then becomes free from conditioning. Then we are reinstated in our pure love for Krishna. Prabhupada is concluding this shloka purport with a nice thought. Similar, the practice of yoga, especially Bhakti yoga and Krishna consciousness, may appear to be very difficult job. But if anyone follows the principle with great determination, the Lord will surely help, for God helps those who help themselves. This is a common saying, God helps those who helps themselves. Their interpretation is that we should not just sit in one place and do this puja or prayer. We should put our hard work and do things. Their emphasis is on the phrase, those who help themselves. So we can give importance either to God helps or importance to those who help themselves, who help themselves. The emphasis could be on either. Materialist majorly focuses on those who help themselves, those who put hard work. To them, God helps. They emphasize hard work, self work. When a devotee emphasizes, he emphasizes God helps. When Srila Prabhupada uses this sentence, God helps is the decisive part of the center of this sentence. It is God's help that brings results. It is God's help which we cannot neglect. The best way we can help ourselves is by taking God's help. God is already there in our heart. He wants to help us. We have to just stop obstructing this help, His help. The patient has to cooperate with the doctor to take doctor's help. This will cure the patient's disease. We should stop getting distracted, just focus on um, taking help of Lord. Devotee always thinks that I have to chant Hare Krishna and Krishna's mercy will purify us. Devotee does not think that chanting will purify us. I am chanting, and as a matter of fact, of me chanting, Krishna is going to purify me. No, it is Krishna's mercy that will purify us. Okay, so that is the right way to understand this sentence. Then 6.25. Shanay Shanay Uparame Buddhya Kriti Grihitaya Atma Samastam Manakritva Na Kinchit Api Chintaye. Gradually, step by step, one should become situated in trance by means of intelligence sustained by full conviction, and thus the mind should be fixed on the self alone and should think of nothing else. Gritti Grihitaya, carried by conviction. This is very important. This is very interesting. Intelligence comes from conviction. Dhriti means strong determination. This determination comes from conviction. Determination is internal and conviction is external. However, both are connected. If I am convinced, I will be determined to do it. Buddhya, Dhriti Grahitaya, by intelligence carried by conviction, means intelligence sustained by conviction. If I am taking a treatment to cure a disease and treatment as painful procedure, we will apply both intelligence and conviction. The treatment is painful, but I apply intelligence and understand that there is an improvement in the health. Then I apply my conviction to continue the treatment. This treatment works only when we consistently practice the treatment. This only cures when we practice consistently. Thus, we have to sustain the practice. This only will cure our disease. When the child is taken for treatment, the mother understands that treatment will work. That is buddhya. That is the intelligence. The intelligence. Mother then sees that the treatment improves child health. This results in sustained practice to take the treatment, to continue the treatment. That is Dhriti Grihitaya, carried by conviction. Buddhya Driti Gahitya. Conviction comes by practice, sustained practice. Then Atma Samastha Manakritva. This refers to fixing the mind on soul. Atma Samastha placed in transcendence. Mana, mind. This refers to mind placed on soul. Mana is slow and nakinchit api chintaye. Nakinchit Atma Samastha means soul. Mana is Atma Samastha means transcendence. Mana is soul. Then nakinchit api chintaye. Nakinchit api chintaye. Don't think of anything else. Nakinchit. Anything else. Even should not think of. Don't think of anything else. This is a categorical statement from Krishna. Now, how is this possible? This is possible only by steady practice. Once we are convinced that the material reality is all deceptive, treacherous, draining, we also understand that it will promise pleasure and it will give misery. With this conviction understanding, we can focus the point that we have to turn away from material reality and turn towards spiritual reality. This comes from the clear understanding, conviction that there is nothing substantial in the material world, and therefore we practice spiritual life seriously. This will help us to progress steadily, step by step. In Pratyahara stage, one shuts down all the sensory objects, one turns inwards, puts all sensory objects puts out all sensory objects. We should become impatient in our spiritual practice. We want to fix the mind in one way, but the mind moves another way. However, by gradual practice, step by step process, we can conquer over this mind. In the beginning, therefore, mind is very impatient in spiritual practice. But by practice slowly, we conquer this. Nothing great in this world is achieved without hard work and enthusiasm. We have to put this in our spiritual practice also. Fixing the mind in Krishna and training ourselves to be Krishna consciousness requires steady practice. So we will move from impatient stage to patient stage. Use intelligence and get highly convinced. This happens gradually, and Krishna is using the word shanai shanai, gradually, step by step. Biggest hurdle in spiritual life is too much impatient with oneself. We must not be impatient about ourselves, but we must be impatient about our endeavors. If I sleep while chanting, then we should become impatient to control our sleep and focus on chanting. If my mind wanders away during chanting, we cannot become impatient. We need to practice focusing on chanting to bring the mind to focus on chanting. This will take time and this is a gradual process. This is like cooking a dish. We want to cook fast. However, cooking is a process which has a duration or a time cycle time and it takes natural time to get right flavor in the dish. If we become impatient with ourselves, then we get discouraged. The point is that purification will take time. Nature has its own course. Nature delivers baby only after proper gestation. Crops are ready for harvest only after the specific time of growth and maturity. One of the reasons for discouragement in spiritual life is impatience. Even if it takes time, no matter how much time it takes, we should have the determination to practice. When I should get a conviction, even when I'm knocked down by my conditions, I will get up and practice spiritual life. I will be determined. I will be patient. If I am impatient in this fight to move from material life to spiritual life, we will end up giving spiritual life. We have to practice very patiently, no matter how long it takes. And every time I make mistake, uh, I need to uh, I need to understand that I am not changing. I am not changing, and somehow I am stuck. Therefore, mind will ask, what is the hope if I am making the same mistake again and again? Krishna here is telling, Shanay Shanay Puparame. Gradually, step by step, one should hold back, patient. There is hope because Krishna is telling here. Every day, we are practicing devotional service. We are becoming strong. We are becoming stronger and we are becoming purer. As we become stronger and purer, purity manifests. We become fixed in our conviction in practice of Krishna consciousness. We will stop here. Thank you very much. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhuvayeva patitanam pavanebhyo वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः ग्रंथराज भगवद गीता की जय जगत गुरु शिला प्रभुपाद की जय गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि